Hello, my name is David Mumma. I'm a toy inventor, a windsurfer, and an amputee. If you're watching this, it means someone you know or yourself have been through something really awful, and you've probably lost a limb. And if you think that it's no big deal, or you think it's the end of the world, it really is neither. Things have changed, and you have some very important decisions to make. And I'd like to share my story with you in hopes that it will help you make those decisions. I lost my limb to a motorcycle accident 44 years ago, 1976. And after about a month in the hospital, multiple surgeries, I came out with my knee intact, but a very short residual limb below the knee. That's my particular issue. Every amputee has some issue, and it's all different for everybody, but there's always something. So they gave me a prescription for a new leg and kicked me out with no guidance. And that's one of the things that has not really changed, in my opinion, since then. So I looked up in the yellow pages and I found a prosthetist, and I went to him for a new leg. And a couple of 45-minute visits later, I was handed a thing that was supposed to help me walk. And what began then was a repeating cycle that went on for years. I would spend about 3 months, quote, breaking the limb in. I never understood that because the only thing that was breaking was me. But that's what they call it, is breaking in the leg. And it's basically you trying to adapt to this strange new thing that's been stuck on the end of you. Anyway, 3 or 4 months of pretty bad discomfort. They would carve away little parts of it, add little pads here and there, and ultimately we'd get to the point where I could walk for at least some of the day with not too much pain. This would go on for 3, 4, 5 months, and then I would get an infection, thinking something would break down. I'd be back on crutches. I'd go back to the prosthetist, and then they would say, well, time to make a new leg. And it would start over again. And I did this for 3 different prosthetists here in the Buffalo area, Western New York, and it always ended the same. At every single person said to me, what do you expect? You've lost a leg. And that sort of implies that I was failing to use it properly, or that I didn't come with the right background or something. And I was just very frustrated. And I'd like to say at this point, I liked all these prosthetists. They were all honestly doing the best they could. But like any professional, there are good people and there are better people to do the service. Anyway, this went on until I finally hooked up with Jan and Fran at the Stokosa clinic. It was a different name then, but I'll never forget this. The first interview, when I went there, Jan asked me what were my goals. And I said, I just didn't want it to hurt anymore. And he said, well, that's a given. It's not going to hurt anymore, but what is it you want to do as an amputee? And I was flummoxed because at this point I'd been beaten down so much that really I hadn't given up on all those goals. I just didn't know quite what to say. So we fast forward to a little further down the line, and in fact I did require some more work, and I was, unlike the previous experiences where I had a couple of 45-minute visits, these guys took a lot longer, and it was over and over and over again, but we got my particular issue to work, and I went back to work, And this is another memorable moment. One of my coworkers said to me, "Did you get a new leg?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "I can see it in your face." Apparently, I was grimacing as I was walking. I didn't even know it. I knew it hurt, but so that was kind of an anecdotal little piece of advice there. Later on in my career, I decided to take up windsurfing. And don't ask me why, except that I just liked the idea of the excitement and enthusiasm and the adrenaline, but I wasn't going to ride a motorcycle anymore. So back to the clinic again, and we kept working and working, and I would go back and windsurf a little bit, and we'd come back and make some changes. And as an inventor, I did some of my input. Jan and Fran were always willing to work with my ideas. And in the beginning, I could sail for a brief period of time before I would develop issues. Now I walk without pain all day, every day, and am windsurfing as much as the rest of me, which has broken down since, will allow. Now, let me go on to where we are now. The current state of prosthetics is being pushed by cost, and it is a very expensive service. I have since met a lot of amputees, and most of them walk like crap. And if that's good enough, then you can go someplace else. You won't need to go to a better provider. But if you really care, and you have the wherewithal to get to Michigan, that brings up another point. I live in Western New York. This clinic is a 6-hour drive each way, and it seems very inconvenient. It'd be much nicer to go down the street to someone here. But I've since met people here, as I said before, and I'm just not impressed with the local service. So as inconvenient and as expensive as it might be, this is a choice that you should consider carefully. You Michiganders are lucky to have access to this so readily. But there's a large group of us who have sought out and stayed with the Stokosa Clinic who come from far and wide because we get the service here that we need. And to the current state of prosthetics, they're doing the best they can, but they've only got pretty much one approach. And that approach may work for a lot of people, or it may work adequately for them, but it's not the best. And if you think you are really someone who wants to really optimize your new situation, I cannot recommend this group any higher. I've been a client with Jan and Fran now for decades. And now I like to joke that as arthritis and everything else kicks in, the prosthetic limb is the only thing that's working right. And that's something that most prosthetic wearers cannot say as time goes on. That's my story. I hope it helps. I would be happy to discuss personally with anybody who wants to chat. I'm available. I only want the best for you. I hope you can make choices that will work for you. Best of luck.